Hi there folks, welcome to video number 128. This video is on ratio and three-part ratios when you're given two ratios. Keywords here are ratio and parts. A ratio is a way of splitting something up, and it's not necessarily the total amount of parts of the ratio. Doesn't always represent actually how many things there are. It's just any multiple thereafter of that many things. And the parts of a ratio, well, we say there's a left-hand side and a right-hand side, but in these questions there's going to be a middle one as well. All right, so there's going to be three parts to these ratios. Now, with these sorts of ratio question, you need to write the ratio in the three parts. X to Y will be given, and Y to Z will be given, but the value of Y will be different in each of the ratios. Right, so the common thing in both of them is that you've got Y, but the Y value will be different in each. So you need to make the Y values the same. And to do that, you can use multiplication, common ratio. So multiply the X value and the Z values respectively. So whatever you've multiplied Y by for the ratio of X to Y, you have to multiply by X by as well. And then whatever you've multiplied Y by in the ratio of Y to Z, you're going to multiply Z by as well. All right. Then you're going to be able to write that ratio as X to Y to Z, one whole ratio, and then use that to solve any problems that you might have been asked. Okay, well, let's have a look and see what we need to do in the first question then. So the ratio of X to Y is 2 to 3. So I like to write these out like this, X to Y to Z, all right, whatever the letters are that you've been given. 2 to 3 is what we've got there. And then the ratio of Y to Z, and underneath it, we're going to put 6 to 7, right? So you can see we've got a missing value there and a missing value there, right? So what I have noticed, or what you may have noticed as well, is it asks us to write the ratio of X to Y to Z in its simplest form. What we can do, all right, to make this Y value the same as this Y value is just multiply this Y value by 2, all right? So if we multiplied that by 2, we get 6, all right? Which means we have to multiply this X value by 2, all right? And that gives us 4, right? So I'm just going to go down there like that and just say that we've multiplied by 2, right? And we don't have to do anything to that 7 because that's already a 6 there. So that doesn't have to be multiplied at all. So what we've got is 4 to 6 to 7. There's nothing more we can do with that ratio, and that is in the form of X to Y to Z. In its simplest form, the simplest of three-part ratio questions when you're given two separate ratios. All right, it's tricky, or it gets trickier, but that I think is relatively simple to understand, that example. Question number 2, we've got the ratio of bats to cats is 5 to 4. The ratio of cats to rats is 7 to 9. Write the ratio of bats to rats in its simplest form. So a little bit more to do here, a little bit more to think about, and the annoying sort of thing they do within questions is making the different types of animals rhyme. So bats to cats, B to C, and then cats to rats. So B to C to R, we can write down the three-part ratio here. We've got 5 to 4, and then we've got cats to rats is 7 to 9, right? Now this one's more complicated because we have not got the ability to multiply just one of the ratios here. So we're going to multiply both of them, right? And I'm going to multiply this one by 7. I'm going to multiply this one by 4 and just write them out again. Okay, so multiplying this one by 7 is going to give me a number. What we're going to have there, 35, and then we're going to have 28 there, all right? And that means that that ratio there, that number in the ratio there becomes 28 as well if we multiplied it by 4, right? So all we need to do here to get our final number is multiply this number by 4, right? And that gives us 36. Then we have to write the ratio of bats to rats. So bats is 35, rats is 36, and that's in its simplest form already. So 35 to 36 would be the answer. All right, so it's just a case of multiplying both the ratios to get what we needed in the three-part ratio there, and then chose the ones that we needed out of it and put them together. All right, and if we can simplify that, we do, but we can't in that particular question. Right, so I'm going to look at this wordy one then in the third problem that we've got. A basketball team plays some games in a season. The ratio of games they won to did not win is 3 to 13. The ratio of games they lost to did not lose was 3 to 5. Given the team has played fewer than 70 games, work out the maximum number of games they could have lost. So this one sounds really complicated, and these sorts of questions, I would hate these questions if I was under timed conditions in an exam. I'd really hate to try and answer these problems, but they do throw them at you. So this is how you try and attack this sort of question. Right, now the ratio of the games they won to did not win. All right, so I'm going to put 1, 2, and if they didn't win, they either lost or drew. So drew or lost. All right, that's going to be 3 to 13. All right, and then I'm going to next to that write the ratio of games they lost to drew or won. Okay, and that is 3 to 5. Okay, now this one's all about the parts, adding up the parts of the ratio. Okay, because we've got this dual thing going on here and this dual thing going on here, and there's no way we can write that as a 3-part ratio because this one is not the same as this one. So we're going to have to work out the total number of parts. It's not using this method. This is just, like the third question always is, the hardest thing to do. So this is going to be 16 parts in total, and this is 8 parts in total. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply these numbers here by 2, and that's going to give us 16 parts. Right, so if we multiply that by 2, we're going to get 6, and multiply the 5 by 2, we're going to get 10. Right, that's now 16 parts, and now the parts matches. Okay, so what we can do there is we can know that they've lost another, or the number they've lost is 6, and the number they've won is 3. So I'm going to put 1 to drawn to lost. Now we can write our 3-part ratio with the 3 options of what a basketball team can do. And yeah, we're going to put 3 there for the win, nothing there for the draw at the moment, and 6 there for the loss, right? And know that these have to add up to 16. So the total parts, because we made them both equal 16, has to be 16, right? So that at the moment equals 9. So 16 minus 9 is going to be the missing number, all right? And that's going to be 7. All right, so the ratio of games that they've won to drawn to lost is 3 to 7 to 6. All right, that equals our 16 parts that we made it. But given the team has played fewer than 70 games, work out the maximum number of games they could have lost. Well, they could have lost 6 games, all right, but that only adds up to 16. Right, and the smallest number that's less than 60, that's a multiple of 16, is 64, right, which is 4 times 16. So if we multiply each of these by 4, each one of these numbers, we're going to get 12, we're going to get 28, and we're going to get 24. Okay, those numbers will add up to 64, I would hope, I think, yes they do. Right, so those numbers add up to 64. That's the maximum amount of games that they could have played that's fewer than 70, right? So now we can answer our question. So what was it all about? Maximum number of games they could have lost. So lost was 24 games. That's the maximum number they could have lost. All right, that is a really tricky problem that involves a real lot of logical thinking. Like I said, it'd be horrible if you got one of those in the exam. But these ones, 1 and 2, are pretty pleasant, especially number 1. Don't require as much thought. All right. Hope you've enjoyed that video. Hope that makes sense to you. Please do click the link in the description to practice this particular skill. Ratio is such a huge deal these days with the new spec GCSE. I say it's new spec. It's been there for a few years now, but it is a huge deal, and they're coming up with more and more inventive and interesting ways of asking ratio questions. So trying to get around that by showing you how to do them. All right, take care of yourselves. Look after one another. Share, like, subscribe, and all that stuff that is always said on YouTube. Take care. Bye-bye.